And now, without any further delay, let's begin today's event, sponsored by Actuate and hosted by Information Management. I would like to introduce your moderator, and that is Jim Erickson. You have the floor.
Thank you very much. Excuse me. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody, wherever you are today, and welcome to this session on uninterrupted operational intelligence and business analytics. My name is Jim Erickson. I'm longtime editorial director at Information Management Magazine and DM Review, and step back a little from that role to do some consulting and work on some projects like this. And looking forward to this session today. We all know that sort of the process-oriented, the operational BI and analytics are really front and center in a lot of folks' mind right now. It's really about execution and quality. So we're going to hear from a few speakers today. I'm really looking forward to this presentation. Nabi Akia, many of you know him as a Senior Vice President of Marketing at Actuate. He's been around the industry for a long time. We've known him for a long time. He's contributed to Information Management. Also, he's going to be talking for a bit today. And then we're going to hear from Shaku Atre, who is also a very well-known figure in the business intelligence community. She is the president of Atre Group, and of course she has a long and distinguished history in the industry with different vendors and other subject matter experts, of which she is a well-known one. And then you're also going to hear finally, and I think we're going to have a little demo share from Mark Gamble, who is the Director of Technical Marketing for Actuate. And Mark's also been with the company for a long time and has a lot of feet-on-the-ground experience in using and executing with business intelligence. So looking forward to these presentations. As you were told, this is being recorded. We're going to send you a link to an archive of this recording and presentation today, and you'll also see an email up here a little later on where if you want to get a copy of the hard copy of the slides, you can email Shaku or someone else for that, and we'll get those out to you. We are saving a little bit of time at the end of the presentation today for Q&A, so I encourage you to use that Q&A panel on the right side of the screen to ask your questions, and again, we'll get to them at the end. If anything we don't get to, or you want to ask a private question, you can do that. We'll follow up with you. So without further ado then, I want to pass the floor over to Nabi Akia, the Senior Vice President of Marketing at Actuate, talking about uninterrupted operational intelligence and business analytics. So Nabi, take it away, please.
Thanks, Jim. I appreciate it, and thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Very excited to also have Shaku Atre join us again. She's been a good friend of Actuate's for many years and always has, I think, very enlightening topics and definitely sees out into the future, which is, I think, what we're going to be talking about, a little bit of mixture of what's here today and what we see in, down on the horizon, if you will, in terms of the uninterrupted operational intelligence. As you'll see from Shaku, it's really all about being able to react to things in real time, which I think we're getting to very, very quickly. But the foundation of all of that is really being able to do effective analytics. I'm excited to also hear from Shaku. I think her vision of operational intelligence and what we'll be contributing is really more of the how do you do the foundational analysis to make sure that what you're operationalizing intelligently is indeed intelligent and makes good sense. What we see in the world today, obviously, is data. And, people talk about big data, small data, smart data, whatever form of data that you have. I think what's clear is really that the data is is a game changer moving forward from 2014 on. And it's really beginning to be a data-driven world, and many drivers for that. I think many of the analysts cite lots of drivers. You'll hear things like mobile and social, analytics, and so on. That's really driving this whole new data-driven world. And I think the thing that we see that's really critical to be able to facilitate in this world are, when the situation is that there are a large number of users and that each of those users require unique insights from lots of data in lots of places in much more rapid fashion, if you will. Obviously, security is getting to be a bigger issue in all of this, and being able to access anywhere on any device. And increasingly, what we see in the world is really a higher level of customer engagement that needs to happen. And where we see the world headed is really to see the world that's self-service, data-driven, customer-facing apps, really that are delivering the personalized analytics and insights, are really going to be the next wave of customer experience in this world. And that's what Actuate is striving and working with experts like Shaku to make sure that we get to the right outcome. What are some of these data-driven customer-facing applications? We see that in areas like in financial services, things like asset management, treasury services, but all things like sales enablement portal, government information portal. Again, areas where it's going to be critical to be able to access lots of data very quickly, manage and process that data, and then deliver that in a very engaging way to your customers and citizens and various stakeholders. Again, the challenge is it's really about the data. Again, the whole notion that the data volume and velocity is ever increasing, and it's in fact accelerating as we move forward. The data sources are expanding to include traditional data sources, but new data sources you hear about like Hadoop, NoSQL, NewSQL. There's data out in the cloud. There's data available from social media, and all of that needs to be accessed and processed and managed, and then put that in a way that you can build an application very quickly to keep up with the market trends and moving forward, at very controllable and predictable way. And then deliver that in a very large scale so that people can get instant value from the information in a secure delivery, whether it's over the web or whether it's to mobile devices and so on. And in order to be very effective at building these applications and to, in fact, monitor the operations, you need to be able to do the analysis. And in particular, the area we're very focused on is to be effective in terms of knowing your customers through analytics, and that's what Mark is going to show. And customer is an area where Shaku is going to discuss quite a bit in terms of some of the operational intelligence that comes into play. But what's important for us is really that you gain the competitive advantage from all of the data. You got to do it fast. You got to integrate again all of the data sources. You got to be able to enrich the data, on the fly. It's got to be able to be done by business users and analysts, and not just the high-end data science, the statisticians that typically have done the analytics in major companies and so on. So you'll see a lot of this, I think, demonstrated by Mark a little bit later on. Again, we're very excited to share with you, I think, some of what we will do, what we can do today, and what Shaku is going to talk about is, I think, based on that foundation, what can be possible in the future. So without further ado, I will hand it off to Shaku, and she'll take you through her vision of the operational intelligence and what she calls, obviously, the uninterrupted operational intelligence and business analytics. So, Shaku?
Thank you, Nabi. Much appreciated. It has been a teamwork of close to 10 years with Nabi and Actuate, and it has been wonderful. I also would like to thank the people in the wings who worked very hard to make this event into a big success with 400 registrants, people like Sabina, Carol, Jim, Erin, and some more whom I don't know. And now, of course, to you, the revered audience. Without you, this event would be meaningless, it would be monologue. So thank you very much, wherever you are. And I want to say hello to you, and I hope your time is well spent. And if you have questions, please type them. I'm sure Jim has mentioned that. And so let's first wonder about, I'm being asked many times by people, can you say what big data is just in one word? And that one word, from my point of view, is varied type of data. I mean, the volume has been growing up all these years, and that term is really relative term. But variation of different types of data, and on top of it, unstructured. Of course, who are we to tell the musicians that your music is unstructured? Who are we to tell the photographers that your photos are unstructured? I tried that once to one musician. I had to run away because every discipline has its own structure. It just doesn't fit into our computer structure or our database structure or altogether how we store the data in the computers. That's why we call it unstructured. So it's really a relative term. And I'm the one really who about 11 years ago, together with my colleague, wrote 5 columns on unstructured data in 2003, and Jim can attest to that. He was with DM Review, which was acquired by Source Media. And at that time, a number of people called me and said, what do you talk about? What are you saying, this unstructured? I said, just wait another 10 years, and then you will know what I am saying here. So this is what it is really, varied data, and that's what we will be talking about, how to master it, how to make use of it, and how to benefit from it to provide from all the data to all the users from all channels by sensing and responding as soon as possible. And once I have gone through my presentation, Mark is going to show you how he can do that, which is a more difficult task than my task. What I am saying, words could be said, but actually showing it is something else. And Mark and I have also worked for many years together. He's a magician with all this showing of the things which can happen, and they are real. They are not like magicians make believe. Okay, so let's get started with our presentation here. And so what's big data? I will talk a little bit about that. Using big data to improve customer experience. Of course, the business cannot exist without customers, no matter what type of business it is. So using uninterrupted operational, that means real-time or almost real-time data to monitor, analyze, and respond as soon as possible so that it doesn't get reported to somewhere in the corner office, some in headquarters with air conditioned, and where then they are going to tell what to do after 2 days, 3 days, and by that time everything is over. And also using big data to improve key performance indicators, which are really the numbers, in a synergistic way with your business intelligence systems. Now, also the question that should be asked, what is the difference between business intelligence and operational intelligence? And on top of it, uninterrupted operational intelligence. Business intelligence so far has provided the information about what has happened and what possibly may happen. Whereas with uninterrupted operational intelligence, we are going a step further into making it happen on the spot, real time or almost near real time. So that is the big difference between business intelligence and uninterrupted operational intelligence. So the words which are important are uninterrupted operational intelligence. Okay, so now big data is a function of variety of data, various interactions due to correlations between data, velocity of data, volume of data, and providing big value to the business via business analytics. So we are really more referring into the number 1, variety of data, and the number 5, providing big value to the business via business analytics by using the number 2, which is the interactions with modeling and with regression analysis and all the kinds of things which the big name which is used now, data scientist. I mean, I think that term somehow is intimidating a number of people, data scientist. But that's the term which is stuck now, and maybe some people like it. So we would like to see how we provide business performance with comparisons with the KPIs. Now, big data. This is in action, big data in action. I was wondering how this stumbled upon, which is one of the social media sites. How did they send me this email? And I will tell you what that it is. So when we go to the next one, so they know more about me than I thought. Now, the first one they send, which is with the snack only 50 calories. I have been trying all my life to lose weight. I lose 2 pounds, I gain 3 pounds. So it's a losing battle, not losing weight, but it's a losing battle. So how did they know? Well, I must have turned on something on internet with how to lose weight. So they followed me on that. Now they have sent me an email, the web URL, womansday.com. Then how did they know that I really like Donald Duck, I like Laurel and Hardy, I like Tom and Jerry, and Charlie Chaplin and some of the others? But how did they know? Again, that must be that I watched these and they must have collected that data. Then how do they know that I like, my husband and I, we are movie buffs. We belong to a movie club, we write about it and so on. Netflix must have been active in that. And the fourth one, which is trekking. I went up on the Himalayas, not all the way top, only up to 18,000 feet, but I sent an email like with the photos from the Himalayas as the New Year's greetings to a number of people. So that must have been followed. So they are telling me lonelyplanet.com, which I have been using all my life almost, I could say. So this is what is happening. This is big data. People, the companies are collecting information about you which you don't know. And as Nabi mentioned before, security and of course with it privacy, they walk hand in hand. We cannot have privacy unless you have security. So it's like they both are very, very important issues about this big data, and it is something which is responsibility of the companies which are providing software to support big data. So now this is what is something which we take about, what is business analytics? What are the main principles of business analytics? First principle, it has to be based on comparison. Compared to what? Better or worse than what? You have to have some basis to go from that you are comparing. So that's the first principle of analytics. What's the second principle of analytics? Is that it has to be based on evidence. That means it has to be based on facts. And we'll say what was sold, why we sold it, or why we didn't sell it. So it has to be facts. That means there are somehow numbers involved, and numbers don't lie. It depends, of course, on the person who uses these numbers, because there is a book called How to Lie with Statistics. I'm a statistician, so I mean, I don't want to say you cannot lie with numbers. It depends on the people, not on the numbers. So that's the second principle of analytics. And what's the third principle of analytics? Provide actionable information with multiple variables. And again, that's where we are talking about uninterrupted operational intelligence, to provide actionable information: why, how, what, when, where, how much, and what action should be taken immediately, or maybe not taking any action. Sometimes not taking any action is also action. So those are the three basic principles of analytics. Now we say big data, of course, just like I just mentioned to you, without you, the audience, what is this event? It is a monologue. The same way, we need to have users when we are talking about the systems to be developed. So now, what are the three major groups here? The percentage of technology-savvy users and customers, and I'm talking about percentage, not the absolute numbers. Percentage is falling in the business environment. There are many, many more people who are using the technology. Percentage of business-savvy users and customers is rising, and they may not be the computer experts or computer, whatever you want to call, data scientists. And the third group is the young customers under 25 years of age. I live currently in New York City in West Village. There is an Apple store, beautiful store. And from time to time, I just walk in there. I went and I saw a person there who was supposed to help me with 2 holes in the 2 earlobes and 1 pin in the lower lip and so on. So I asked this person, so I want to do this and this. He said, yeah, use this app. I said, is app an abbreviation of application? He said, no, it is app. Most probably he didn't understand the word abbreviation. If I would have said ab, maybe he might have understood it. But anyway, so one of the big reasons is easy access to social media, and that's the growing group of people worldwide. So now, so this is our users. We talked about analytics. Now, the difference between traditional BI and uninterrupted operational intelligence, we looked about that. It's embedded in OLTP applications, support mostly operational users, and on and on. That means you don't have to throw away your business intelligence applications. You build on top of it so that you make it happen. So predict what is going to happen and make it happen. That is the main difference. That means you stick out your neck a little bit more. So now, with today's BI analytics systems, it's based on key performance indicators. It should help you to analyze and predict what may happen, and then it should be automated. And that is where the real big plus point you have to look for in the software that you are developing or you are looking to license or whatever. So it should be automated. So the missing component today is automation of decision making. So by the way, if you would like to have these slides, please write to me, Shaku, S-H-A-K-U. People have called me all kinds of names, so it doesn't matter, but the computer is not forgiving, so you have to use this spelling, S-H-A-K-U. So many people have called me Shaky. Maybe I am, but who knows. S-H-A-K-U at atre.com. Okay, so please, if you want to have these slides, please send to me an email, and I promise you I will send them to you. So we are looking for now monitoring, analyzing, responding, and as soon as possible. So this is our cycle, which is going to be repeated. Circle is something which you repeat again and again and again. So you monitor, discover, analyze, understand, and one of the biggest skills that a data scientist has to have is to be able to discard, because all big data does not have value. There is serial correlation in sensor data. So you have to be able to discard. It's just like what to keep and what to throw away. If somebody knows the gambler, you have to learn that, what to throw away and what to keep. Okay, so, and this is going to be in a circle doing all these activities over and over and over again. So business analytics so far was what happened based on a random sample, and I'm saying random sample. I'm a statistician. It's not a biased sample. It should be a random sample. And of course, there is definition about what is a random sample. So the size has to be certain size. It has to be taken not based on some specific criteria and so on. So that's the random sample. So that is based on the random sample. Then predictive analytics is what may happen based on a random sample again. And the third one, which we are talking about, is operational intelligence and analytics. Make it happen to the population based on a random sample. So we are going from sample to the population. First, we go from population to pick the sample, and then from sample, we go back and predict what may happen with this population, what people are going to buy or what they are not going to buy, who are going to be ill with this specific virus. I mean, you know that H1N1, Google had already written in, I think it was American Scientist or something, some magazine, which is pretty responsible magazine. They had predicted that based on the data that they had collected, based what people were looking at to purchase which medications, prescription or non-prescription. Okay. By the way, from big data, I just did a little analysis, not a big one. But when can you buy the least expensive airline ticket? I fly a lot, so I'm very much interested in that. If you buy your airline ticket between 50 to 60 days before you fly, that is the cheapest ticket you can buy. Of course, not every time you have that luxury of knowing 50 or 60 days ahead, but if you have, then that is the time. I did some regression analysis and so on. So based on that, that's what it is where you can buy the cheapest ticket. Now, when we say data, forming information, and based on information, decisions. If you take a look at the point of sale, market basket associations, when product X is bought, product Y is bought. So coming up with the patterns, product Y is bought a percentage of time if product X is purchased. So based on that now, if I am buying, let's say, washer, then how many percentages of time dryer is going to be purchased? If I'm buying, let's say, an iPad, how many percentage of the time people are going to buy the cover to protect it? So there is serial purchasing, and that's what the retailers are looking for and the sellers are looking for. So with the monitor, analyze, and respond. So now we say business value of uninterrupted operational intelligence from big data is automating discovery of problems and opportunities. You see, an optimist sees an opportunity in every difficulty, whereas a pessimist sees in every opportunity many difficulties. So now we are talking about an opportunist who is looking at the problems and coming up with the opportunities, noticing and responding as soon as possible, and refining operations on a continual basis. There is no end, and that's why it was the circle, so that you keep on going round and round and round, not like it's not beginning and end. It is never an end. There is a beginning, but there's never an end. Okay? It's just like you're putting some beads in a thread, and the thread is not knotted at the other end. The beads are keeping on coming out of the thread. You have to put them back again. They keep on coming out of the thread. So it is a continual basis, uninterrupted operational intelligence. So now, operational intelligence applications evaluate the effects of alternate decisions, because there is not, many times there is not only one option for a decision. So with that now, you could do some kind of a simulation based on one decision and come up with the results, try to put the other numbers in it with the other simulation, come up with the number, and it has to be done very fast, and then pick the most opportune, the optimum decision to do the operational intelligence. Okay, so here we are talking about living together with OLTP. So operational intelligence is not like living in vacuum. It is together with the OLTP system, with the, let's say, sales, CRM, customer relational management, ERP, enterprise resource production, resource program, ERP, and so on, so financials. You know what? One of the things we have mastered very well in computer business, coming up with the acronyms, okay? Because if you cannot dazzle them with your brilliance, confuse them with terminology, okay? So that's what, just put 2, 3, 4 letters together, there is an acronym there in computer industry. So we need to have interactive dashboards, and with the operational intelligence dashboards, spreadsheets, graphs, and displays. And I'm sure Mark is going to show some of those in his demo as far as the graphs, dashboards are concerned, and his decision trees is going to go through that. Of course, those are the upside down trees, okay, decision trees, because you start at the top and then keep on growing into branches, down, not up. Okay, so that's the tree in the sky coming down. Okay, so now, so with this now we are saying that we are coexist. Uninterrupted operational intelligence should be automated, and it should coexist with your existing business intelligence systems. So I have put together a whole bunch of tables here for you. I'm not going to read all of them. So customer churn, lost profits from profitable customers that churned. And I always emphasize that having many customers or more customers is not always a good thing, okay? Just to have more customers. Are those customers generating profits for you? So there are some loss leaders. You want to get rid of them, send them to your competition. Okay, so here we are talking about churning of the customers, and Mark is going to go through that to show you how Actuate can help you with one example. And of course, that could be used for many other things. Generic with prescription drugs, increased use and revenues of generics. There was some fraud detection, credit card fraud detection, and so on. So I don't need to read all of this. So these tables are there, and if you would like to have, once again, the slides, you have to write to me, send me an email. So big data sources could be seamless integration of Hadoop. There are a few other terminologies which I've come up with. It's like a zoo. Try to understand the zoo. There are elephants, there are mahouts, there are pigs, there are crows, there are, just name it. This is a zoo now, okay? Which I always thought that we are dealing with zoo, but I didn't know that people will be bringing the zoo in here, but there is zoo in here. Okay, so you can take a look at these tables if in case you ask me for the slides. Then also fast results transfer raw data into analysis in minutes without IT intervention. Okay, IT serves a big purpose in automating many things. Everything has its own place, but IT should not become a bottleneck. The user should be able to get the things faster by helping themselves. And that's why you have to look for the software which can enable you to do that. Okay, so with noticing and responding, analytics-driven features, with the trend detection, pattern detection. So here we are talking about data mining, which is very important activity for a data scientist, with the pattern recognition. And of course, there are a number of different things which the person has to do with the different types of modeling and all that, simulation models and a whole bunch of things. And that's where you have to have application templates with the parameters for selection of data sources, predefined, easy to select KPIs, dashboards and charts, sample data for testing apps and so on. And Mark will be covering this if I leave any time for him. Okay, so now, so this is what we are talking about here. Application requirements of noticing and responding systems can be driven by data. And of course, you are our users of this today's event. User experience. I hope you have gained something out of this session. So user experience. I would like to have a happy face when you, wherever you are. Okay, so, but happy face is a happy face, whether you are in South Korea or in India or in Sweden or wherever you are, or in the US, wherever you are. And with that, we are going to go into analytics with using the data to provide you very pleasant and quick, helpful, valuable user experience. So once again, if you would like to have the slides, send me an email, and I promise you I will send you the slides. And with that, I think I have gone over my time by 1 minute. And once again, thank you, everybody. And I'm passing the baton to Mark.
Great. Thanks so much, Shaku. Great insights. It's my job today to kind of bring a picture to the name here. I just give you a moment to share my desktop. So I think I'm going to actually have a lot of fun here because we're going to bring to life the 3 principles of analytics that Shaku talked about, that of comparison, evidence, and actionable information. So we'll go through BERT Analytics, and this is a tool that sort of combines visual simplicity and ease for a non-statistician with the power of advanced analytic algorithms. And it allows you to do things that are really useful and go beyond the confines of a traditional desktop visualization tool. For example, you can create, as Shaku talked about, decision trees that can depict the propensity for things like customer churn. We'll take a closer look at that as we go through our demonstration. You can also create profiles, and these are intended to depict influential characteristics of segments of information. So you can learn a lot, for example, about customers by building a profile, and this will enable more intelligent marketing to them based on their interests and other kinds of attributes. And then we'll also take a look at the ability to very quickly and easily segment customers utilizing popular diagrams such as a Venn diagram, but which are wildly more popular or more beneficial if they are interactive. We'll show you how that works. And then lastly, we'll also take a look at some shopping cart traffic analysis by depicting traffic in our stores in a map layout of the actual store floor plan. So it's BERT Analytics that brings all of these capabilities to life. One of the things that Nabi mentioned right up front is the ability for any non-analyst, non-statistician to enrich the data that's been given them. So let's actually start out trying to visualize this information, and we'll start by determining who are our best customers based on a concept called RFM analysis, and this stands for recency, frequency, and monetary value, or specifically, when's the last time a customer visited, how often do they visit, and what is their average spend per visit. And with this criteria, we can then isolate out customers based on it. So one of the great advantages of BERT Analytics is in its ability to enrich the data. So here we can see a browser view of all of the data that I can bring to bear for my analysis. And it has all to do with baskets and customers and items. We've got retail tracking where we're also tracking cart locations. So I've actually taken the base or source data and enriched it further by creating new enriched fields that define frequency, recency, and monetary value. So if we take a look at one of these predefined fields that I was able to create, all we're doing here is calculating the time between the last visit and the current day for a given customer to find out their recency. And in similar fashion, we've created the monetary value and the frequency. So we'll use these to determine who our best customers are. So what I'll do is actually create a selection of this where we define our criteria. So we'll say here we want to define our best customers as those that spend more than $100, have shopped within the last 60 days, and shop at least 6 times within the last year. So in order to define this, it's very straightforward. I'll go ahead and define our recency based on the shopping within the last 60 days. Very straightforward, easy to do, and that now drops a reusable segment into our Scratchpad. And I'll rename this shopped in last 60 days. So notice it's very free form in our analysis. We can now utilize these segments. I can actually see who these individuals are on the fly. But more importantly, we can now bring to bear that comparison. So what we want to do is actually see the combination of these factors and visually determine who are our best customers. So I mentioned we're going to utilize a Venn diagram, and this is the popular diagram that has the interlocking circles where they meet is where the information is most important. So we'll actually pull out these segments of data, those that spend greater than $100, those that shop 6 or more times per year, and those that have shopped within the last 60 days. Notice how the diagram builds dynamically. Now, trying to do this manually or with other tools would take multiple queries. I mean, we're talking about multiple conditions and at least 7 queries. But notice here that I didn't have to even be bothered with querying. It's a very visual and intuitive environment. I was able to create this dynamic depiction, the center of which is our sweet spot. These are our best customers because they meet all three of these criteria. So any visualization in Bird Analytics not only is easy to create, but is also dynamic in of itself. We can use it for segmentation. So I want to isolate just these 79 some odd thousand customers that meet that criteria. They're our best customers. So I'm going to simply click on that segment, and it drops a brand new segment down into our scratch pad. And I'll rename these folks. These are our best customers. And then the ones that actually don't meet any of the criteria, we can actually see in the table. They don't spend on that average over $100 or shop 6 or more times a year and have not shopped within the last 6 months. So we can identify these folks and call them our worst customers. There we have it. So 2 new segments that we can now utilize for some very visual comparison. So what I'll bring to bear now is the profile. So the profile is a very unique visualization that allows us to compare based on our segments. In this case, I want to visualize our best customers as compared to the worst. So what we're doing behind the scenes is bringing to bear an advanced analytical algorithm called the Z-score. So what I'll do now is start to drop on various attributes of our customers, and we can begin to paint a picture of who these individuals are. So first I drop on the age band. Next I'll drop on gender. And then next, if they're an internet customer, what's their life stage? Are they a mail order customer? Are they a store customer? Do they actually come into our brick and mortar stores? And lastly, let's pull on wealth. So based on the Z-score, which is a statistical measurement of a score's relationship to the average in a group of scores, we are yielded a picture of the most prevalent attributes of our comparison. So in this case, if we want to kind of target our best customers, we can see that they tend to be in the following attributes. They're males who tend to order via mail order. They also, they don't come into our stores. They're members of young families. They generally tend towards the very wealthy, according to our classification, and so on and so forth. But what also makes this very statistically relevant is that the profile also paints a picture of who we don't have to target. Because in that best customer segment, we see that they tend to not be the females that are utilizing, they're not using mail order, or they are store customers, and so on and so forth. So this becomes very relevant as we wish to target individuals based on real information that we've collected about them. So now let's go into our decision tree. And the decision tree is a way in which you can actually, it's ideal for things like next best offer, as Shaku mentioned, or customer classification based on attributes. So how does a given attribute affect the outcome? And this is where we can actually build out that tree visualization. So in this case, we've got, I'm going to utilize some pre-prepared filters here that we've got. So another great advantage is not only creating enriched data, you can also create selections. And selections are specific criteria that we can run at any time to get the very latest data. So I've created a couple of selections and saved them here to define our churn customers. So churn customers are defined as having come greater than, they haven't visited in over 90 days and visit 1 or less times per year. So we'll calculate that. And we get our segment. Once again, we can utilize that. Just simply drag it, drop it into our scratch pad for reuse. I'll pull open my loyal customers. These are folks that have shopped within 30 days and come at least 4 times a year. We consider them quite loyal, so I'll calculate that with fresh data. And again, drag that down and drop that into place. So we have 2 new segments. What I'll now do is bring to bear our decision tree. So what I'll do first is define a sampling of our customers, and we'll combine our churn and our loyal customers. So I'll simply create a brand new variable here that will be a combination of churn and loyal. So we'll make that OR, and I'll rename it. We'll call it our sample, for lack of a more inventive term. And that's going to be our criteria here for our domain. So now, what are some different attributes that we wish to look into, what that can actually sort of decide a propensity, in this case, for a customer to churn? So we can actually pull from any of the available attributes. In this case, I'm going to pull out our monetary classification. This is, again, another enriched field. And we'll also pull out the age band. What does an age representation have? What influence might that have on churn propensity? And then lastly, we'll pull on gender. So I just drop this out. Now we want to define what we consider a loyal and a churn customer. So we'll say first, we'll define our loyal customers. And these will be in bright green and will be based on our selection, that segment. So we can add that, and then I'll create another new classifier, and these will be our churn customers. So the real value here is that we're creating something that we can reuse over and over again as the data changes. Now we'll define our churn customers. So now we've got our classifications, our definition, if you will, of these what we consider churn and loyal, and we've got our attributes. So let's go ahead and train our model. And what this does in very quick fashion against, again, millions and millions of attributes, we've tons and tons of data, we get a visual depiction of propensity for churn or to be a loyal customer based on those various attributes. Another way to see this is in the browser view. So I'll just drop over into the browser view, and we can see, for example, as we combine down, we can see, if we read this, we can see that the 45 to 55 females who are considered high profit customers are also predicted to be loyal customers. So this is a way in which we can really make a highly targeted effort towards retaining and delighting these customers on an ongoing basis. So let's go ahead and actually save this. I'll save it, and this will be our model. And I'll just put this in so we can reuse it against our data at any time. So if we wish to apply it at a later time, let's say, let's go ahead and apply this against all of our customers at large. So it makes it very easy to do so. And we can create a new column, and I'll just call it customer class, and we say OK. So it creates a brand new field that will automatically and on the fly calculate all of our customers based on this criteria. In this case, we can see an instant visual depiction of our loyal customers versus churn. And in similar fashion to the rest of our experience, if I want to isolate these loyal customers, perhaps to promote to them or maybe find the churners, we can just simply click, and yes, it drops a brand new segment that we can use as filtering for criteria in our analysis. So lastly, let's take a look at our shopping cart tracking analysis. So for this, I'll actually go into our mapping capability. But unlike sort of the ubiquitous US map that you see in a lot of desktop visualization demos, we're going to actually use a unique visualization. We're going to actually depict traffic in our brick and mortar stores on a floor plan layout. So in this case, we're able to do so because we have RFID devices on our shopping carts in all of our stores. Think a big box store, for example. And these RFID devices track the paths of carts. They measure the time spent at various displays. And by correlating a cart's trip to the checkout counter with purchases on a customer's loyalty card, we can track those customers that lingered over a display without buying the item. This is really valuable information. So what we'll do is go in and define a brand new measure that we wish to depict, and we'll call this items purchased. And this will be the count of purchased items. And we'll go in and add that. I will say our values will be the sector map. This is how we actually track the individual sectors of our store. So we drop that in. Lastly, we just choose the depiction and the correlation, the color that we wish. And I'm going to use an automatic band, which will give us a red gradient based on that traffic. So we'll calculate this. And when we run this, we can see in our stores all of the shelving and aisles, and we also see subtle shading here depicting the activity. In this case, again, this is the time spent in, or rather items purchased. And we can see a lot of items are purchased here in this particular display. And that stands to reason. This is the first display shoppers encounter when they walk through the door. Now let's actually see how long shoppers linger at these various things and see if there's a correlation. So I'll create a brand new map. And in this case, I'll bring in some slightly different values. We'll say we're going to create a new measure. This one will be our time spent at each display. And this will be the sum, in this case, of our cart locations total seconds. So we'll set that. And then again, we want to pull out that sector map so we can relate it to the actual aisles in our store. We'll choose a slightly different color here for comparison's sake. And we calculate. And now we can see based on a gradient color, the blue areas, the darker the blue, the longer the time spent at a various display. So let's put this actually into a consumable format, let's say for our users for comparison. So what I'll do is we'll go into a gallery, I'll create a brand new canvas, and we'll pull those two maps out that I've actually created so we can see them best side by side. So we'll say our items purchased per sector and time spent per sector. And now we can kind of clearly see, if you will, and draw some conclusions and some correlation. We can see that lots of time spent at this second main display, but not nearly as much being sold. So when we compare these, we can also, similar to the other visualization, simply click and drop a brand new segment down into our scratch pad that we could use to isolate those individual items and promote them better, or even correlate them back and market them better to our loyal customers. So with that, I will go ahead and turn it back over to Jim, Shaku, and Nabi, and we can move into our question and answer period.
Excellent, Mark. That was a great demo. It just reminds me of what's happened in the last 10 years and what it would take to actually create that kind of representation not so long ago, and it really reinforces what Shaku was also talking about. How the tech-savvy audience is less of this, the business-savvy audience is there, and the younger their experience in the Apple Store. I think, again, these kind of demos just really remind me of where the industry is coming in a very short time. We're just about out of time, and we do want to keep people on their schedules today. But real quickly, Shaku, you were talking about some of the characteristics of uninterrupted operational intelligence as being embedded, mostly operational, based on KPIs, analyze and predict. It's automated. I see a combination of sort of blunt instruments like Google marketing at websites, and then these kind of demos that are much more incisive. Where do you see the bulk of the activity now in terms of what businesses are, where they're applying this uninterrupted? Is it truly automated as in web experience, or is it more in the analyst role?
Yeah, it's not truly automated. It's almost like if you know in the theater, okay, in the behind the wings, there are people who are doing things like pulling this and pulling this scene, pulling that scene, and so on. So from what I know is that there are many, many, many people who do work, physical work, before it shows as if it is automated, but it is not automated, because I think a lot of it depends on the human brain's inference drawing capabilities. And that's what needs to be automated also, at least to some extent. I don't think we will ever replace the human brain with any computer. Maybe I hope I'm not wrong.
Right. Well,
I don't want any computer to know what I'm thinking.
Well, hopefully we're not past that point already. But your point is well taken, and you gave examples of things like preemies and ERs or car theft, things like that. But you know, it does feel like in a lot of these operational systems, are they in the hands of marketing as it appears, where people are going for the top line first? But
yes.
also, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I'll just go a little bit into this example of the preemies. I mean, this is not an example. It has really happened in few hospitals. What happened is that, let's say the preemies, everything, all the signs, the vital signs were fine. So blood pressure and the whole bunch of vital signs were fine. So the pediatricians thought everything is fine, so they went home, let's say, quote unquote, they went home. But the nurses were there. Now, these are the operational people, and they have kept that into their memory, what had happened before. It was like the calm before the storm, okay? And when the vital signs were perfectly fine, that was just kind of like a lull time, and all of a sudden infections started to come in. And they knew that, and that's why when everything was fine, they said, we have to be more careful about giving them whatever medication so that these things won't happen. And the pediatricians did not know that. And that's where my main point is that those nurses were watching these preemies 24 hours of the day. The pediatricians are there maybe for 2 minutes with each baby at the most,
right.
If at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it really does. It really does support that whole cycle that you talked about also, monitor, analyze, respond, and
yes.
how that is a continuous response. And I'm sure, you know, you envisioned part of this, you know, 10 years ago when you started writing about unstructured data, and we were looking at similar things. Again, you know, I see a demo like this, and I realize just how powerful a tool can be in the hands of a business user or a marketer or a doctor or a clinician. So we do want to keep folks on time today, so I could go for another hour, but I think we're going to wrap it up now and thank our speakers today for a really informative presentation. I want to thank
Jim,
yeah.
if I could have those questions, and whichever I can answer, I will answer them, and then maybe you guys can forward them to whoever asked.
Sure.
Is that possible?
Sure, yeah. If anybody wants to drop a line, of course you have Shaku's email, but also, you know, you can use the QA. We do have a couple things in here, but again, we do want to keep people on their schedule today because we know you carve out time, and we do appreciate your staying with us for this hour. I certainly enjoyed it. I want to thank Nabi Akiha, the Senior Vice President of Marketing at Actuate, Shaku, of course, Shaku Atre, President of Atre Group, someone we've known for a long time in the BI community, and Mark Gamble, the Director of Technical Marketing at Actuate, for that really interesting demo. So I want to thank everybody for their time today. Wish you have a great day and a great week. I'm Jim Erickson. So long, everybody. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.